Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the final pre-match press conference of the Six Nations 2023. I apologise for the late start of this event due to our delay in travel. I'm sure we'd all love to have been sat here eagerly anticipating a game in which England were competing with Ireland for the championship on the final day. Unfortunately, that's proven not to be the case at this stage of our development. The performance last week was not good enough, and there's been a number of forthright conversations in the review of that game. Now we are looking forward to testing our capabilities against the number one side in the world in what promises to be a really exciting game on Saturday. Thank you.
Thanks. James, I'll come to you first.
Steve, you mentioned those frank conversations. Ellis Genge did it the week. What have you said? What's been your message? What do you want to see this week that wasn't there last week?
Well, I think for us, we need to clearly, the performance needs to substantially improve from where it was last week. And we know we're playing against the best side in the world. So what a way in which to test ourselves in what's going to be a fantastic atmosphere.
Was there a lack of effort at all?
I think in terms of last week, I think the situation, we went into last week with a plan, and unfortunately we weren't able to enact that plan. I think part of that was down to ourselves. Part of that's credit to a very good French team. Now we know as we go into this Saturday's game, we know we're playing against a superb team and who are bidding for their first Grand Slam in Dublin. So we know that we're going to have to work very, very hard to try and get our plan in place in the game.
Is physicality the key?
I think when we discussed post-game last week about the manner in which the contact area was dominated by France both in attack and defence, which makes it very hard to impose plan. I think clearly Ireland are a very well organised drill side that have been working together for a number of seasons now. So we know we're going to have to be very good in all aspects of the game to compete and get ourselves in a position to win the test match.
With that in mind, is that partly why you brought Owen Farrell back in at 10 and Manu Tuolangi at 12?
Well, I think clearly, I think Ollie Lawrence, as you know, had an injury from late in the game last week, in just coming to the final quarter last week, so was unavailable for selection this week, and Manu, having served his suspension, is then available for selection, so is able to come into that role. Regarding the change of 10, as always, I pick a team that I think is the right team for the game we're going to play in the plan we wish to try and bring into the game and against a specific opposition.
I know you're picking a team to beat the next opposition, but is there a danger in constantly changing your 10 and your midfield or not? Is there a danger that you can change too much?
I think, as discussed, Ollie Lawrence was unavailable for selection this week. Unfortunately, he injured his hamstring in the game last week, and I'd have loved him to be available for selection, but he wasn't. I think he's played really well in in terms of playing a substantial Six Nations. Which is his first substantial Six Nations. I think he's done really well, and what a fantastic player we have in Manu to come and join the team and step straight in. He's been training with us consistently, so he's been eager for this opportunity.
How's Marcus Smith's confidence? Because he's come into the team, he's been on the wrong end of a really tough result and a tough performance. He's then out of the team. How does he take that?
And I think that everybody around the team, players, coaches, every one of the management team found last week's result and performance painful. It hurts, and every one of us has worked this week together to get an improved performance on Saturday.
Finally, no one's giving you a chance. Everyone's writing you off. Can you use that as motivation?
Well, for our point of view, we're excited by this game. Now, we believe in what we're trying to do. We believe that we understand we have a lot of work to do. Now, we knew that going into last week's game, and we saw quite clearly, and I was very upfront pre-game and post-game about the gap. And now our job has been this week is to keep trying to accelerate our development. We have a lot of catching up to do, and we want to accelerate. Now, we're excited about this game. We know they're a very good side. We've got a lot of good players in our team as well.
Thanks. Anyone else for the live? Nick?
How much can you change in a week, Steve? Do you actually need to change a lot, or is that a bit?
Well, I think clearly you've got to identify what the priorities are that you need to address, and when you have a defeat and a performance at the level that was last week, you've got to work to ensure that you're focusing on the main things to improve. And again, I look at this and go through the steps of development we've tried to make through this championship, and then played against the number 2 team in the world last week, and I've been very upfront about the nature of that game. Now we focus on playing against the best side in the world, and I think we'll come out of this Saturday clearly understanding where we are and what we need to be doing.
Henry Arundel will make his full Test debut. What's made you sort of select him this week, and what will you bring?
Yeah, well, I think he's a young player with an enormous future in front of him. I think it's really important that I think he's the right player to play in this game. I think we've seen glimpses of him. Unfortunately, for the first half of this season, he's not played an awful lot of rugby due to injury, but seeing what he's producing in training, I think he's an incredibly exciting player. And I think you see a number of young players that this experience, this Six Nations in terms of substantial game time for the first time. So Henry's first Six Nations, JVP, Alex Mitchell, Ollie Lawrence, we discussed, Dongers, Ludds, Ben Curry, these guys, and I think this is enormous for us to really understand where we are and what we need to prioritise.
But for a 20-year-old who, has obviously, like you say, has come back from those injury issues and obviously has a massive ceiling, but it's pretty experienced. It's a massive sort of statement of your backing, isn't it, to put him into, like you say, this situation against the best in the world.
Yeah, and I think he's a very composed, calm young man, and I think that he's got the capability and the ability to excel in international rugby.
Hi Steve, is there anything you've tweaked in preparation this week to try and avoid a repeat of what happened against France?
Well, very much I look forward rather than looking back. So we review the game against France, identify what we need to focus on, and then look very clear on how we need to play against Ireland. So we know that we're a good side there, and you can see that. I think it's over 1,000 caps they've got in their 23. The experience they've got is enormous. So we know we're going to have to be much improved from last week, and I know the players are determined to put in that much improved performance.
Have you been pleased with their reaction? Difficult day last weekend, but in terms of their attitude this week, has that been good?
Yeah, their attitude has been excellent.
Steve, just on Manu, he's obviously had some big games against Ireland in the past. I think I heard him describe as Ireland's kryptonite even at one stage. Does that give you a bit of confidence that he can maybe disrupt their wins a little bit?
I think we're very privileged to have a player of Manu's ability, and as I say, there's a number of very, very good players, and I think every one of our players is excited about this challenge. You look at the quality of players that are going to be on that field on Saturday, and I think we're all excited about the game.
Thanks. Anything else? Okay, lovely stuff. Right, we'll head next door for the writers'